Picture this, right? You are standing in a really small windowless room.
Hmm.
You're super thick, your heart is just hammering against your ribs, and right in front of you is this highly complicated, incredibly volatile bomb.
That is quite the visual to start with.
Yeah, no, just bear with me. So you've got a pair of wire cutters in your sweaty hand. Protruding from the explosive mechanism is a red wire, a blue wire, and a green wire.
The classic action movie setup.
Exactly. And the logic is simple but brutal, right? If you cut the right one, a green light flashes, the heavy steel door behind you unlocks, you walk out into the sunlight, and everything is completely fine.
Okay, I am tracking with you.
But if you cut the wrong wire, or honestly, even if you just hesitate for a little too long, well, the entire thing blows up right in your face.
I mean, it is the ultimate high-stakes scenario. The tension in a moment like that is entirely consuming. You are laser-focused on a single objective, which is simply not making a catastrophic, irreversible mistake.
Right. Now, what if I told you that for millions of people around the world, that exact same feeling of sheer paralyzing panic doesn't happen in a bomb squad scenario?
Oh, where does it happen?
It happens in the checkout line, at the local grocery store, it happens in mundane office hallways, or, just waiting for a bus.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, and it gets triggered just because a stranger made eye contact, smiled, and said three incredibly simple words, "How are you?"
It's so true. When you frame it like an explosive device, it sounds absurd to a native speaker, but the psychological reality of that specific moment is intensely real.
It really is.
When you are a non-native speaker, or honestly, even just someone navigating a completely new cultural or social environment, misunderstanding the basic foundational cues of a culture can lead to this overwhelming sense of anxiety.
Yeah, you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells.
Exactly. That you truly feel like one slightly miscalibrated word is going to trigger a massive social explosion.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the phrase, "How are you?" seems like, the most basic entry-level building block of the English language.
It is usually chapter 1 in any textbook.
Right, but it is actually a hidden cultural landmine.
Yeah.
Today, we are decoding the unspoken, often bewildering rules of everyday greetings. We are pulling some fantastic insights from a recent deep dive into a show called Slow and Social English.
And they had an episode that specifically tackles what they call the "how are you" trap, right?
Yes, exactly. Our mission today is to hand you the survival manual for this confusing interaction. We want you to navigate these moments with total confidence and bypass the awkwardness of culture shock altogether. So I have to ask, why is a simple "how are you" such a dangerous trap?
Well, the trap basically exists in the massive invisible gap between the literal meaning of those three words and their actual cultural function.
Literal versus the cultural.
Yeah. Think about how we traditionally learn any new language in a classroom setting. We are given lists of vocabulary. We're taught that a specific word in language A corresponds directly to a specific concept in language B.
Right, it's very mathematical.
It is. We learn syntax and grammar based on logic. So if you translate the words how, are, and you directly from English into almost any other language, it translates as a direct, literal inquiry into a person's current state of existence.
So imagine a student who has just arrived in an English-speaking country. They walk into a coffee shop and the barista smiles and says, "Hi there, how are you?"
Right, a totally standard interaction.
But the student's brain instantly runs that literal translation. They think, wow, this culture is incredibly empathetic.
They really do.
They're like, this complete stranger is deeply concerned with my physical and emotional well-being. So they start doing a mental scan.
Which makes perfect sense based on the translation.
Yeah. They think, well, I have a slight headache, I didn't sleep well because of the jet lag, and I'm feeling a bit homesick.
It is an entirely logical deduction based on the mechanics of translation. I mean, if a medical professional asks how you are, they are asking for a diagnostic report.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, the student is simply applying the literal semantic meaning of the words to an everyday context. But the brutal reality of English social culture is that if a stranger asks you that question, they absolutely positively do not want your life story.
But wait, if English speakers don't actually want an answer to the question, why use a question format at all?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. Why don't they just nod or just say hello instead of actively setting a trap? It feels almost like cultural gaslighting to phrase something as a direct inquiry when you will actively punish the person for treating it like one.
I get that. And that tension right there is the core of the issue. To understand why the question format is maintained, we have to look underneath the language itself and examine the underlying social framework that requires this kind of confusing interaction.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the framework?
We are talking about the mechanics and, honestly, the evolutionary necessity of small talk.
Ah, small talk.
Yeah.
The absolute dread of introverts everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It gets a bad reputation, certainly, but it serves a very specific, vital, structural purpose in society.
Okay, so how do we define it in this context?
Small talk is defined as short, polite, highly scripted conversation that you use specifically with people you do not know well. We aren't talking about heart-to-hearts with your best friend here.
Right, we're talking about passing a coworker in a narrow hallway or interacting with the cashier at the pharmacy.
Exactly.
It's basically the linguistic filler material of human interaction.
I would actually call it a social buffer. Think about human history. For most of our evolutionary past, encountering a stranger was a moment of high potential danger.
Right, a stranger could be a threat.
Exactly. Today, we live in massive, dense cities surrounded by thousands of strangers every single day. Our primal brains need a mechanism to signal safety.
So the small talk is the safety signal.
Yes. By engaging in small talk, you are proving to the other person that you are friendly, that you acknowledge their presence as a fellow human being, and most importantly, that you are not a threat.
So you're establishing a baseline of politeness without demanding intimacy.
Precisely. It proves you are part of the social fabric, but it protects both parties from the emotional burden of an actual relationship.
Okay, let's ground this in a real-world scenario because I think it perfectly illustrates the absolute necessity of this buffer. Picture the classic sandwich shop scenario.
Oh, this is a great example.
Right. You walk into a busy deli on your lunch break to buy a turkey sandwich. The guy behind the counter, who has been slicing meat for 6 hours, looks up, wipes his hands on his apron, and says, "Hey, how's it going?"
Which is a textbook execution of the social buffer. He is acknowledging you, welcoming you into the space, and signaling that he is ready for a transaction.
Now imagine if you actually answered truthfully. You don't play the game. Yeah, you look this exhausted deli worker dead in the eye and say, "Honestly, my back hurts terribly, I'm going through a messy breakup, and I'm deeply worried about my career trajectory."
I can feel the awkwardness from here. The discomfort in that room would be immediate, severe, and palpable.
The poor sandwich guy would just completely freeze up.
He really would.
He's standing there holding a piece of provolone cheese, completely trapped because he just wanted to fulfill his societal obligation to be polite before making your lunch. He did not sign up to be your therapist.
No, he certainly didn't.
By answering honestly, you have basically held him emotionally hostage.
Which is exactly why we have what is often referred to as the doorway rule in English culture.
The doorway rule. Okay, explain that.
The phrase, "how are you?" is not a room you are invited into. It is essentially a doorway. The cultural expectation is that you just wave politely as you pass through that doorway. You do not walk inside the house, take off your shoes, and sit down on the couch.
I love that doorway metaphor. But let me offer another analogy that might hit even closer to home for anyone navigating the modern world.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about "how are you?" like the accept terms and conditions box that pops up on absolutely every single website or app you download.
Oh, the endless scrolling walls of dense legal text.
Exactly. Nobody actually reads the terms and conditions. And honestly, the company that built the website doesn't actually want you to read them either.
That's a really fair point.
If you actually stop to read all 50 pages of complex legal jargon every single time you wanted to buy a pair of socks online or update your phone, the entire global internet economy would instantly grind to a halt.
It would be paralyzed.
Right, the box is just a mandatory agreed upon ritual. You click accept to get through the digital doorway so you can get your socks. In the real world, you say, "I'm fine," to get through the social doorway so you can get your turkey sandwich.
What's fascinating here is how these mandatory rituals, these seemingly empty social buffers, actually serve to protect our psychological well-being.
Protected how?
Well, public spaces are overflowing with strangers, and human beings only possess a finite amount of emotional bandwidth. Small talk, and specifically the placeholder greeting of "how are you?" actively prevents emotional information overload.
That makes a lot of sense.
It allows us to acknowledge each other's humanity and maintain a civilized society without demanding that we carry the heavy, complicated weight of each other's actual lives.
That makes total sense in theory.
Yeah.
You click accept, you get your sandwich, nobody gets hurt. But the reality of remembering that underlying sociology when you are actually out in the wild is completely different.
Theory and practice are rarely the same.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You might assume that this is purely a trap for people learning English as a second language. But even native speakers blow themselves up with this cultural bomb if they aren't paying close attention to the context.
Because context is everything. Even within the same language, regional and cultural shifts dictate entirely different rules of engagement.
Let's talk about Emma. She is from the source material we're discussing. She's a native English speaker, born and raised in an environment where maybe people are a bit more openly chatty.
Right.
But she moves to London, and on her very first morning in her brand new apartment, she encounters a slight regional shift in the culture that completely catches her off guard.
Moving to a new city is always disorienting.
Totally. So she steps outside, probably feeling that chaotic mix of excitement, anxiety, and deep exhaustion that comes with moving all your earthly possessions to a new place. And her brand new neighbor, a man named Mr. Smith, is out walking his dog.
The stage is set perfectly. It is early morning, it is a residential street, and they are neighbors. This is a low-stakes environment designed for a standard social buffer.
Exactly. Mr. Smith sees her, gives the classic slightly reserved neighborly smile, and says, "Morning, Emma. How are you?"
A very standard, polite greeting.
But Emma, who is completely overwhelmed by her life at that moment, entirely forgets the doorway rule. She doesn't just walk through it.
Oh no, what does she do?
She plants her feet firmly on the sidewalk, takes a deep breath, and gives Mr. Smith a full, unvarnished, miserable report of her actual state of being.
She bypasses the social buffer entirely and unloads a massive emotional payload onto a stranger.
The whole thing. She tells him how bone-tired she is. She complains that unpacking all those cardboard boxes is taking forever.
That is a lot for a morning walk.
It gets worse. She vents about the fact that she can't find her coffee cups anywhere, and to top it all off, her apartment radiator is making this weird, rhythmic clicking sound that kept her up all night.
Wow.
Yeah, she didn't just sit on the couch. She essentially moved into his living room.
And Mr. Smith's reaction is deeply instructive for understanding human psychology.
He was terrified. According to the account, he just stared at her, blinked a few times in shock, cleared his throat awkwardly, and said, "Right, well, good luck with that."
He was completely overloaded.
Yeah. And then he practically sprinted away down the street, dragging his poor dog behind him.
We are seeing a classic fight-or-flight response triggered entirely by a broken social contract.
So I have to ask you, is Mr. Smith the bad guy here?
That's a valid question.
I mean, is he just being a cold, insensitive neighbor to a young woman who is clearly struggling and just needs a bit of empathy? Or is he merely a victim of Emma breaking the unwritten rules of London small talk?
I would strongly defend Mr. Smith in this scenario.
Really? Defend him.
Yes, it is easy to view him as unfeeling, but he is not being malicious. He is simply operating within the established, agreed-upon boundaries of his local social script.
Okay, I can see that.
When Emma shatters that script, she induces genuine cognitive dissonance. Mr. Smith was not looking for a meeting. He was not emotionally prepared to offer a consultation on her housing woes or her mental state.
Right, he was just trying to be a polite neighbor.
He was merely offering a polite vocalization, a verbal handshake, while waiting for his dog to find a patch of grass. When a social script is broken so abruptly, our brains literally do not know how to process the interaction.
You just short circuit.
Exactly. We lack the programmed response, which leads to that immediate searing sense of awkwardness and the overwhelming physical desire to escape the situation.
He thought he was asking her to quickly click the accept terms and conditions box, and instead she cornered him and started reading the entire 50-page legal document out loud on the sidewalk.
Exactly. It completely violates the fundamental purpose of the social buffer, which is to keep the interaction light, predictable, and moving forward.
Okay, so if sitting on the couch and giving a full emotional report about your clicking radiator is a guaranteed disaster, how do we successfully navigate this?
We need a strategy.
Right. We've established the mechanics of the trap. We've seen the collateral damage of native speakers getting it wrong. So let's figure out how to survive. How can someone listening right now escape this trap in their own daily life?
The solution lies in mastering the mechanics of the response. The goal is to answer naturally, fulfilling the social contract without sounding like a robotic AI or someone reading stiffly from a phrasebook.
So what's the secret?
Well, the golden rule for small talk is actually incredibly simple. Keep it quick, keep it friendly and positive, and keep moving. Do not linger in the doorway.
It is about momentum.
Exactly. The words you choose are important, but the rhythm of your delivery is arguably just as critical as the vocabulary itself.
Yes, the rhythm. So the standard bulletproof first phrase is the classic, "Good, thanks. How are you?"
A timeless choice.
But the secret is that you have to say it fast. You cannot pause between the words. You don't say, "Good, thanks. How are you?" You blend it all together into one fluid sound. "Good, thanks. How are you?"
That specific speed and fluidity signals to the other person that you deeply understand the rules of the game.
You're speaking their hidden language.
You are acknowledging their greeting, returning the baseline politeness, and fulfilling your side of the social contract without demanding a single second of unnecessary time.
Another great phrase that is slightly more casual is, "I'm good. How's it going?"
"How's it going?" is an excellent tool because of its versatility. It is informal, it is universally recognized as friendly, and it is completely non-demanding. It lowers the stakes of the interaction immediately.
And my personal favorite, which I use constantly for those profoundly average days where absolutely nothing interesting has happened, no lottery wins, no flat tires, is the perfect neutral response. Not bad, thanks.
That is a highly effective one.
I love it because it doesn't force you to lie and claim you were thrilled, but it also doesn't invite any follow-up questions.
Yeah.
It just perfectly deflects the attention. You know what this entire interaction reminds me of?
What's that?
It's exactly like a game of hot potato.
Oh, a rapid, high-stakes exchange where the goal is to avoid getting burned?
Yes, the greeting itself is the hot potato. When the cashier at the grocery store or your boss in the elevator tosses you a "How are you?" Your only objective in that game is to catch the potato, prove that you caught it, and immediately throw it right back to them.
Catch and release.
Exactly. You catch it, you say, "Good, thanks, how are you?" And you toss the potato back into their hands. If you hold on to it for even 5 seconds to talk about your missing coffee cups or your bad back, the potato burns your hands, the tension skyrockets, and the whole game is ruined.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of language acquisition and cultural integration, mastering that rapid, rhythmic game of hot potato is actually the ultimate key to sounding natural and confident in English.
It really is the secret code.
So many learners think fluency is about having an expansive, complex vocabulary for every situation. But in small talk, it is entirely about understanding the musicality and the pacing of the exchange.
The rhythm over the words.
Exactly. When you can fire back those short, compressed phrases with the right casual rhythm, you are signaling profound cultural competence. You are silently telling the native speaker, "I understand the hidden rules of this interaction, you are completely safe with me, and we can both seamlessly move on with our days."
That is such a powerful and relieving way to look at it. It takes so much pressure off the listener. You don't need a brilliant, witty answer to impress the deli guy. You just need to play the rhythm correctly.
It transforms a moment of potential paralyzing anxiety into a very simple, highly predictable transaction.
So let's recap the core rules for everyone listening to make sure we are all fully diffused, the green light is flashing, and we are ready to walk out of the bomb room.
Let's hear them.
Rule number 1, understand that "how are you" is almost always just a friendly hello in disguise. It is a placeholder, not a medical inquiry.
Crucial distinction.
Rule number 2, do not overthink your response. Keep your answers short, sweet, and moderately positive. Catch the potato and toss it back immediately.
Don't get burned.
And rule number 3, which might be the most important, just smile. Even if the rules seem weird or counterintuitive, people are generally just trying to be nice and acknowledge your existence.
A genuine smile smooths over almost any minor linguistic or cultural stumble. It fulfills the primary evolutionary goal of the interaction, which is simply demonstrating friendliness and non-aggression.
So what does this all mean for you? It means that the next time you are standing at the checkout line at the grocery store, or you pass that one slightly intimidating coworker in the hallway and they throw out that terrifying question, you do not have to panic.
No bomb squad needed.
Right. You aren't staring down the red, blue, and green wires anymore. You are armed with the secret code to English small talk. You know exactly how to wave politely, step through the doorway, and get your sandwich.
You absolutely have the tools to navigate the social buffer without triggering the cultural bomb. But this raises an important question about the nature of human connection.
Oh, where does that leave us?
Well, we have spent this entire deep dive establishing that the phrase, "how are you?" is culturally bankrupt of its real literal meaning. We've proven that it is just a trick, a mechanical way to say hello, while simultaneously maintaining a safe, polite distance from strangers.
Right. Keep it moving. Don't sit on the couch.
But human beings require deep, authentic connections to survive. We cannot live entirely in the social buffer.
That would be incredibly lonely.
So, if a culture has taken the most direct, obvious question about a person's well-being, how are you, and slowly turned it into a meaningless piece of small talk, how do we actually signal to our close friends, our partners, and our family when we genuinely do want to know the heavy, complicated truth about their lives?
That is a fascinating point.
If the front door is just a prop, how do you verbally invite someone when you actually want them to stop, unpack their emotional boxes, and sit on the couch with you?
Wow. That is the ultimate flip side of the coin, isn't it?
Yeah.
If the wires to the bomb are all fake in public, and the terms and conditions are just a ritual, how'd you actually open the door to real vulnerability when you're at home? What is the secret code for actual intimacy?
It is definitely a paradox.
That is definitely something to think about the next time you ask someone close to you how they are really doing. Until then, keep practicing that hot potato rhythm, don't overthink the small talk, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.